I see a lot of textbooks and teachers writing the product rule in a way that's different from mine, and I don't like them, so I really want to argue why my way of doing the product rule is better. So, what's the product rule? When you have two things multiplied, you differentiate one, hold off on the other, and then the role changes to the next sum. Now, this is the way I write, but I've seen people writing uv prime plus u prime v. Now, there are certain reasons why people want to do this. That's because later on when you learn differential equations, knowing the product rule in this way is better. And maybe when you're introduced to the integration by parts, this could also be better. But I don't like it. Okay. You should really try to use this one. They're equivalent, right? Because addition is commutative. It doesn't matter if you write this first or this first. But I like this better, and let me explain to you why. First, you have to know what happens when you multiply three things. If you have three things, what's the product rule? Well, the product rule is you just do one by one. And this looks more natural. Right? If you start from the last going up, it's not that natural. I mean, I like to explain product rule this way. Let's say you and your friends are going to the barber, and you ask for a haircut, right? And then because the barber cannot cut all of your hair at once, he's going to work one by one. So you get your haircut first, your two friends wait. Plus, now you're done, you wait when the second friend gets his haircut, and then the third one, okay? So it's a very natural thing to think about if you have that picture of going to the barber and getting your haircut. And it just makes sense that the first person to open the door gets the first haircut, right? If you do it the other way, if you do U, V, W, and W gets the haircut first, it somehow seems unfair. So that's one reason why I like to have U prime first, not V prime. There's a second reason for this, and the second reason is when you have U over V prime, the quotient rule, if you remember your product rule this way, then well, first, what's the quotient rule? Quotient rule is the denominator is squared, and the top looks exactly like the product rule, but instead of a plus, you have a minus. And that's really easy to remember. If you remember your quotient, your product rule this way, then quotient rule somehow seems natural. On the other hand, there are like 4 different ways people would write this quotient rule. I just can't keep count. Like some people write like V times U prime minus U V prime, or they might have V prime U here over V squared. So maybe there are two other different ways that people write. But what I'm trying to say is all the other methods, I even tried doing something called like yodel song for the quotient rule, low D high, high D low, or something like that. All of these, they still are very confusing. So I was trying to do all different kinds, and after years of teaching, I realized that the best way to remember the product rule and the quotient rule is to make sure that you remember the product rule as first guy comes, that's the first person served. Okay, so first come, first served. And if you have that understanding of the product rule, then you can easily remember the quotient rule as U over V prime. It looks exactly like the quotient rule, except instead of plus you have minus, and you have to remember that V squared is down there. The denominator has to be squared. That's all.